So obviously it's been a good camp thus far. We've had some injuries we had to deal with, but that's everywhere in the NFL, and excited about this weekend, final preseason game, final test for a lot of our young guys, and looking forward to getting prepared for Kansas City here in a couple weeks.
Mike, every year since you've been here, you've had your stalwarts on special teams,
Mm-hmm.
guys that can cover kicks, guys that can return kicks. I mean, who are some of the guys you see as potentially, depending on whether they make the roster or not,
Sure.
being those guys for you?
MJ Stewart did a great job for us last year when we got him. He was never really a special teams demon, and he's really bought in, has done a great job. He's been a little banged up lately, as you guys know, but he'll be a guy that we rely heavily on with his leadership and his skill set, and he's a very intelligent player. Elijah Lee is a guy that we hope is running down on all or covering kicks and being on both return phases, and there's several other guys. Jeremiah has done a great job as a young guy when he's been out there. Hopefully we can use him with his speed and athleticism. There's a lot of veterans. Anthony Walker Jr. has come in here, has been a great leader for our football team, our locker room. He'll play at least one phase, maybe two. So there's a lot of veterans, a lot of rookies that we're going to rely on throughout the whole season.
Yeah, Brian Allen. Allen was in on that.
Yeah, Brian Allen's done a great job. He's been a very pleasant surprise. Of course, I remember we got him in practice squad last year. I'm like, that guy's a corner. He's taller than some of our linebackers, and he can run, he can hit. He's had a really nice camp.
Do you have your kicker?
You know what? I think Chase has done a great job this camp. It was really good competition. I was very sad to see Cody get hurt. He got hurt in pregame was when he did it. He told me that I didn't find out till the second quarter because he tried to fight through it, and then he told me he was down, he was out, and didn't want to make it worse, which I totally understood. And the MRI confirmed that he was going to be out for several weeks, so we couldn't have two kickers because the competition's been fantastic. I wanted to continue it in the second half of the Giant game, and then this weekend, and this week would have been a big week for both those guys. Because honestly, Cody did a really nice job for us last year. He came back 8 pounds heavier. He came back stronger. He was going to be better on kickoffs, and then Chase was really giving him a run for his money. So I like Chase. I'm confident in Chase, and I don't make those final decisions, but this is a big week for him. Tomorrow we kicked yesterday. He did a great job. We'll kick tomorrow, and then we'll kick Sunday. We'll see where we're at.
How did Cody do that? I mean, it seems like an odd injury.
Yeah, well, with kickers, you never know. It could be a groin, could be a hip flexor, could be a quad. Unfortunately, it was a quad for him, and he was a veteran enough guy to know his body that just something didn't feel right.
Mike, Kevin said in a different context he's not going to try a field goal inside the PAT range unless it's to win a game or something.
Yeah, that was probably for preseason because we're trying to, with the kicking competition, you're trying to get those guys in the 38 to 48 to 52 range. Trying to have those guys compete. I think that's what he meant about that. To be
How
honest with you.
important is 50 and up accuracy in deciding this job?
We didn't kick any 50 plus field goals last year, and that those field goals, especially in our stadium, the last few months of the year, are very, very difficult. So, what do you want to do? Do you want to put 4th and 2? You want to put Baker in the offense out there, or do you want to try your hand at a 54-yard field goal into the dog pound end?
I saw one guy make it.
Yeah, well, it's true. Yeah, he's you talking about last year in Baltimore? Well, he's the best in the business. I mean, he'd be our kicker if he was here. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player.
But I mean, don't you need to count on someone to win the game from 50?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, Chase lined up and drilled a 49-yarder, and if he misses that, they go down and kick a field goal. They win that game. I know it's preseason, but still, that was a regular season kick for him, and he drilled it, and it would have been probably good from 55, 56.
Mike, where are you at with the return competition right now? You've got guys battling not only just for that spot, but they're fighting for a running back job or
Sure.
a receiver job. Just where are you at in the return?
I think, it's been fun because there's so many of them, and JoJo's done a nice job, Demetric Felton's done a nice job, and we've trained him to be a punt returner, which he did not do in college. We know what Donovan can give us. We know what Dearness can give us, and they're both quality return men that can give us what we need on game day. The number one thing we did, and I've said this before, is ball possession last year. We always gave the ball back to the offense, and that's what we have to do this year, and that's the most important thing we do, and the rest of it is a bonus, to be honest with you. So is there any clear-cut returner right now? I don't think so. Anthony Schwartz is a special athlete that would love to be our kickoff returner, just we haven't been able to use him a lot lately.
Earlier in the offseason you said you wanted to develop Demetric into that dual returner.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it now? Is it whether he's ready? I know you said there's not a clear-cut return, but just...
Yeah, I think, we haven't had many opportunities on kickoff return, but on punt return, he's shown the ability to catch the ball in traffic. He's shown the ability to make the first guy miss, second guy miss. He can break tackles, so he's done a real nice job for us. JoJo gives you probably a little bit more quickness and a little bit more speed, long speed. But Jameek just done a nice job of breaking tackles and making that first guy miss and retaining the football, which is obviously the number one thing we do. We put it on the ground, he can't be our returner.
Like you mentioned, Dearness is a return option.
Yeah.
Just his overall value in special teams, how big is it?
Huge. He can cover kicks. He can move him anywhere on kickoff. He can be a tackle or a wing on punt. He can run the punt team if we needed him to. He could be a dual returner if we need him to, and if he's not the returner, he'd be out in the return phase at some point anyway, at one of the positions that we use. So I'm a big Dearness Johnson fan.
What about Kadero?
I'm sorry, Kadero Hodge?
Kadero.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a stalwart. He's the guy that we missed last year when he was banged up. You know, we lost him right before kickoff against Dallas in pregame, and you know we lost that roster spot. He was starting on 3 faces for us that day, so that was a fun pregame for me. But at the end of the day, he's the guy that we're really going to rely on to play gunner, to play kickoff, to be a punt return, kickoff return contributor as well. Not a returner, but mainly as a blocker.
You've got. It seems like this team has a lot of quality players for like those last 3, 4, 5 spots. I mean, are you ready to fight for some of your guys in the coming days?
Yeah, I think we always talk about jumping on the table. I think besides the head coach and the general manager, I understand the roster better than anybody because I get it. I get that you have to keep so many offensive linemen, defensive linemen, guys that aren't playing a ton of special teams, and then you have to have the other guys fill in. Great thing about Andrew Berry is he listens. He listens to the coaches. He listens to all his scouts, his personnel people, and then he makes that decision. So have I fought for guys? I think I've told him my opinion, and he's asked me to compare this guy to this guy, linebacker A to linebacker B, safety A to safety B, and I've given him my opinion based off of special teams. But I understand at the end of the day that I've got to, we've got to win with the roster that we're given, and we've got a lot of good football players on this team. I'm excited about.
You know the history of this franchise. What's it like to be part of the Cleveland Browns team with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations?
Well, I've told you guys before, I'm not into predictions, and we've got to go down and play the two-time defending AFC champions week 1 that have won the Super Bowl. So they're a great football team. We're right now, our focus is on the Kansas City Chiefs. And am I excited to be a Browns coach? I was excited 2.5 years ago when I got here. I mean, I love this city, I love this franchise, and I'm really excited about where we're at and where we're headed.
Last year, you guys didn't hesitate in making the kicking change after the first game.
Yeah.
And it turned out all right. I mean, like you said, Archie played his way through. But is that a situation you'd rather avoid?
Think about what we had last year is Austin did not have a great training camp, and then we were hoping that he would turn it around, and he had a poor first game, and then we had to make a change, and that was forced upon us. It wasn't just one bad game; it was a culmination of not playing great in training camp. I think Chase has had an outstanding training camp, and if he's our guy, then you don't want to swap guys out after 1 week if you can avoid it.
What about the idea of training yet another new guy into First Energy Stadium?
Yeah, that's a tough part. The good thing is we had all our specialists go down 4 times, this summer so far, to get used to that stadium. One day it was a ridiculous wind that they had, I think, back in like early August. But that would be the toughest part, unless they've kicked here before, to get them used to that unique venue, because it really is very unique.
Need a visit from Phil Dawson?
Just maybe needing to refine some of the finer aspects of punting, especially positioning the football.
Right.
Just what have you seen from him evolving from last year to what you've seen here in camp?
He is really starting to understand the game. I mean, like I said, 2.5 years ago, he didn't know what PAT stood for, and now we're looking at a guy that can be one of the top punters in the league if he stays healthy and does what he's supposed to do. We've asked Jamie to be more of a directional punter this year, to pin people towards the sideline, to give our gunners a better opportunity, especially against a vice, to win. And he's done that in camp. He's had a good preseason. I look forward to seeing him punt. It was going to be indoors, so it's not as much of a challenge, but he's still got to do a good job indoors. He didn't punt well indoors, I think. Where did we play last year indoors? I don't remember. 2 years ago was Arizona. He didn't punt great. I just think it's one of those things that he's really matured. He's worked extremely hard. We bounce ideas off each other all the time about different type of kicks. His hook punt that you saw the other day, that's a nice weapon for us, and he really needs to be a weapon for our football team because he has the ability to do that.
Wasn't he hurt last year? Didn't he have a groin? And I don't know how a punter. I got the
You
fly.
dancing or you? Oh, okay. I think you're doing the Irish dance.
Last year, and then
I don't.
how's a punter deal with that?
I don't recall if he was hurt. He might have been sore, but I don't remember him being hurt. He didn't miss any games.
I know that. I mean, that'd be a tough injury for a punter.
Oh, 100%.
Like obviously Kevin didn't have a hard time transitioning into that head coaching role. Rins coach of the year. You guys have all that success. But have you seen him grow in year 2? how?
I think the thing about Kevin, he's very even keeled, as you guys have seen. So no matter what has been thrown at him, whether it's the COVID protocols from last year, whether it's been an injury or different issues that we've had to deal with as an organization, he's dealt with them with a very cool, calm, collective head. I think I knew that about him my entire time in Minnesota. But I think he's done a really nice job in that regard. He's done a nice job leading this team.
Mike, you mentioned You mentioned Cadero as a gunner. I'm just kind of curious, what makes a great gunner?
You have to be explosive enough at the line of scrimmage to beat the vice. Okay, you have to have breakaway speed. You have to be strong enough they're going to grab and hold you, because that's what most teams teach. We don't, but Baltimore does, Pittsburgh does, Cincinnati does. I'm just kidding. But you have to be able to find the returner. You got to be courageous enough to take a shot, go for the tackle. Plus 50, you have to be able to, or plus 10 downing, you have to be able to be smart enough to and experienced enough to find the football, stay in bounds, down the ball inside the 5-10 yard line, wherever the punt lands. So there's a lot of different things, and that's why I have Coach Coleman works with the gunners exclusively. He meets with them, twice a week. We do walkthroughs and jog-throughs and individual work with the gunners more than any other position aside from the big team together. And that's where Cadero's done a nice job for us when he's been healthy.
And he said it's like the 1-2. Like the guys have to have that
I think in order to be a special teams player, you have to have great 1-2, and you have to be a unique individual. I think you have to be. There's something wrong with you to coach it, and there's something wrong with you when you play in a good way. You hope, but all the great special teams players that I've been around, they're unique athletes, but they have unique attitude and want to towards the game of football.